Okay, well, welcome everyone. I am continuing on with this project that I started on Saturday. I tentatively decided to call this project Mr. Code for now. Um, so we did this kind of rough character facial design. I'm not sure I like it. So many characters have these kind of spiky hairs, and I was thinking it might be fun to have something a little bit more, not spiky. So let's see, I'm going to start by loosely sketching with kind of a bluish color, just kind of a head shape. Now I kind of keep my hair buzzed constantly, and so I think I kind of want to do something similar. When I was younger, I was all about the spiky haired characters, uh, but I've got psoriasis on my head and I've got to keep my hair short, so I kind of would like to catch some of that. So I'm going to knock that back just a bit and make a new layer. Now, I do have a little bit of a widow's peak, and so I'm kind of basing this character off me. My hair kind of does this number, something like that. And so I almost wonder if it's not just enough. Just kind of do his hair like this. I think that's pretty decent, all things considered. It may not have, like the other fun shapes or an ahoge or something like that a lot of manga characters have. I think more American style comics typically don't have that, but it could be fun. Anyways, what I was thinking, my hair kind of, when it's a little longer, and I don't mean like a whole lot longer, I mean like a little longer, kind of goes off to the side. I didn't mean to make a group. Just a new layer, please. Thank you. Let's bump up the size of that brush just a little bit and the opacity. Okay, my hair kind of goes off like this. Actually, it's the wrong direction. It goes to the right. That'd be about as spiky as I might get with it. It's not like crazy spiky, but it's a little something. My hair does kind of like to do this about back there. And I thought about maybe giving them a bit of a fade, just because it makes it a little bit more pleasing to look at. Maybe something like that. That's kind of fun. But I mean, this is not bad either. It doesn't necessarily catch your eye as much as this does, but maybe that's not a bad thing because it makes the character feel a little bit more subdued. I'm going to go ahead and throw some eyes and a face on this guy real quick. Yeah. Maybe something a bit like that. Said I was going to go with some little bit of boxier eyes for this character. Now, these won't look exactly the same as the way I drew them on the other reference page, but that's fine for the moment until I start finalizing the appearance. They just need to be close enough. Okay. Something like that. That's pretty close to the other one. More or less. It'll work for now. Okay. Let's get an ear on there real quick. And I'm actually going to just quickly draw some kind of mouth on there. Leave it like that for the moment. I don't need to figure out perfectly right this second. I can think about it. But I do want to move on So you might be wondering why I'm changing this opacity. If I have it all the way up, this pencil just makes these thick lines. If I know I want to get something in there really quick, I'll do that. But if I lower it, I get a lot more of this kind of variation. And you'll notice even though it's at 20, as soon as I start pushing, it still gets really dark. So not that big an issue. Okay, I'm going to come over to this one. Start very quickly roughing in a shape for a character. Oops. I don't know how I did that. Okay. Get his arms very loosely over here. You know what? I made the mistake of not starting the way I normally do to keep my proportions. I'll lower this down just a moment. A lot of the time I'll start with kind of a triangle like this. I'll put a socket here in the middle, a ball here in the middle, and then another triangle here, because it lets me figure out where my hips go. Some balls up here, some more right here, about right there. Put his arm up like this. I do not put balls here typically. You can. Instead, I draw from here and here like this. Kind of gives me a rough idea of where those legs go. Okay, now that I've got that, let's flip this back around. All right, so I know that if I come off here, I can connect that. That's going to give me roughly the top of my hips. This is roughly where the crotch goes. It's going to come down to about right here. Something like that. Whoa, what was that? Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's my phone. So I've got two tablets plugged into my computer, and I've noticed every now and then if I plug my leave my phone sitting on top of the other one, for some reason I get some kind of feedback that causes it to go funky. Though if it happens again here in the next bit, I'll know it's not that, as I just took the phone off. It could also be something called Mouse Without Borders, which I recently installed. It lets you use more than one Windows computer kind of as if they were a single computer. So you install Mouse Without Borders on both, and then you can control both computers with a single mouse and keyboard. He's not going to have claw hands. I'm just roughing those fingers in real quick. Okay, and there is the basic shape for this guy so that I can actually start fleshing out this as a character. Okay. From here, I do drop this down again. I turn this one off. New layer. All right. I often wear a hoodie. Now the question here is, do I wear what I often wear? Or perhaps he wears something I might like to wear but don't often wear in real life. Now I've got kids, so I've got this, it's kind of a baseball jersey style shirt that I will wear on occasion, but not super often because I don't want the kids to get it dirty. I feel like in a comic story, or any kind of fictional story really, you have the option of putting your characters in clothing like that, even if you might not wear that every day in real life. You can, depending on the story, you can almost get around the that detail. Now, if it's a story where the character's constantly in situations where he might get messy, it may not register as well. Oh, the other thing is, even if you do get, you can draw them getting messy in a story like this, and they're easier to clean because it's a fictional story. The things that would stain in real life aren't necessarily going to stain in a comic. Okay. And so this kind of has these strips right here. And then it's got one stripe coming around like this. On the other side like this. And then it's got like the cool text on the front as well. I have no idea what this thing would say. Mine says Final Fantasy 14 on it. I'm obviously not going to put that on a character in a story like this. Okay. My favorite kind of pants, which I cannot really find very well anymore, at least not easily, was always carpenter pants. Now, I don't know if that would be if that would work well for this character though, because the reason I would wear it is I'd keep pens in, so it'd have this pocket on the side like this, and then above it had this, on the opposite side it had a loop. I imagine this is for like hanging a hammer in or something like that, and this is for keeping other tools you're using. I would always put pens and pencils on the side and here and just like have them clipping right there, and then I just unclip it when I was ready to draw. Worked pretty good most of the time. Only ever had a couple occasions where things fell out and I lost them. But I don't think that's going to work for this character, because I'm not passing on my artistic sensibilities to this one. He's focused entirely on my coding side of things. Now, I do wear this shirt when I'm coding. I do not wear it when I'm making art, unless it's digital art, because there's no way I'm going to risk getting that thing filthy. You know what I think I'm going to put on it? The word zealot. And I have a reason for that. I was working on my own tabletop RPG at one point, which I never finished, but it was called Zealot Core. And I'll probably revisit that at some point in the future. Okay. I think I'm going to give him a long sleeve shirt underneath. I've lived in places where it's cold. I've lived in places where it's warm. But when I do wear this shirt, I often end up wearing another shirt underneath it. So I'm going to go ahead and have him wearing a shirt underneath as well. Okay. The pants. I'll just give him some cargo pants. Cargo pants are always there. Whether they're go out of style or not, I don't know. I've never followed style trends very well. But I do like them. Now, this is not the most exciting outfit, and so I think the next step, probably not tonight, but the next step is going to be looking on Pinterest and getting some ideas of what styles people are actually wearing. Now, that's the interesting thing. I've never been big in styles. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm autistic, and I dress more based on practicality or sensory needs rather than I do based on fashion. However, of late I've been feeling a need to be more intentional with the way that I dress, while also trying to respect my sensory needs. And so I think I'm going to explore that a little bit through this character. Part of why I'm working digital at the moment is it's late at night and everyone else is sleeping. and I don't want to have to deal with the mess of cleaning up paints, but I would love to eventually start switching over to paper and pencil for doing these. I love working with the analog tools, paper, pencil. I guess this is technically an analog tool too, since I'm controlling it. Traditional tools instead of digital. Let's see, I tend to like thinner sneakers. I'm not a fan of bulky shoes. Men's styles are often bulkier shoes, and I tend to gravitate towards thinner sneaker styles. Flesh that out a bit later. Something like that. Okay. Now the colors for these, I don't know if the colors matter too much, as I mostly work in black and white. I think even for this I'll probably end up working black and white. I like to figure the colors out just so that I know what they are. That way when I translate them to black and white, I've got a better idea of what I want that to look like. I'll start with that widow's peak kind of shape. I don't want it to be like, Vegeta extreme. Don't need this to be perfect. I'm just trying to capture the overall aesthetic of this character so I can figure it out. Alright, that's the basic appearance I think I'm going to go for this character. Okay, let's go ahead and just get some very basic colors on this. I think I can come over here and just grab that skin tone. If the coloring out of the lines bothers you, I will eventually clean that up, but at the moment I'm just trying to move quickly. So kind of what I'm thinking is maybe a kind of a black shirt. I know that's not perfectly black. I did that so I could still see the lines coming through a bit. Still really dark. I'm going to switch to a gray. Okay. Now on the shirt I actually own like this. The edges are purple, but I think I'm going to go blue. That might be too dark. The letters themselves are white with the purple outline, so I'll probably end up doing something like that. I'll just quickly hit it like that. Okay. I think that undershirt I'm going to go ahead and make dark as well. I'll have to figure out some way to really differentiate the two, or change the color of what he's wearing over top, because I think the undershirt will probably end up being better dark regardless. Okay, and then very quickly, kind of a khaki color for the pants. And I think the shoes I'll probably just keep kind of white and black. Black and white. Oops, a little larger, just a little larger. Something like this. I think this will probably be it for the first version of Mr. Code. I'll think through the colors, and like I said, next time we'll be looking at Pinterest and trying to make some decisions based on what. Well, I said before, I'm not big on fashion. I do think when you're putting a character together, it is a good idea to get at least some basic idea of what is perceived to be the fashion around this thing, and then I can compare my own ideas against that, and I'll find some happy middle ground. Anyways, thanks for joining me tonight. This was another quick session of creating a little bit of art, creating something while I have a break, and now back to my day job.